Everybody got a podcast. Everybody is a critic, but nobody will admit it. Everybody going live now. Everybody want it right now. Click the link up in the bio. Everybody got a new line. Everybody is offended. Give a fuck in your opinion. Everybody got a right.
I just had to order an audio extractor.
A what?
An audio extractor. So the PS5 doesn't have a digital output. It only has HDMI.
Right.
And for whatever reason, my soundbar fucked up and the HDMI doesn't work, so it's only optical. So I bought an extractor to run HDMI into the extractor, out to the TV, and then back out to the soundbar.
Right on.
So let's start this podcast off by talking about my PS5.
One day, I'll get one. One day I'll get one. I
would have ordered you one, but it won't let me get more than one.
I didn't think it would. That was going to be my first thing, but I'm like, there's no way. With as limited as they've been, they're probably trying to cut pirating and all that shit in half.
Oh, yeah, dude. And half of it went to bots anyway. I just got really lucky. And I'm knocking on wood. I truly won't believe I'm getting one until it shows up here. You know what I mean? So as of right now, in my mind, I don't actually have one.
I like how you scratched off like the order number. I'm like, that's pretty smart because I would have been a test of our friendship with me.
No, I scratched that shit off for everybody. I'm like, nope.
I need it diverted to Michigan. It's really weird, but my house collapsed and I had to go to my summer home for a while. So yeah,
it's so strange. And my name is Rachel for some reason. I don't know why.
I go by Ray. My parents were hippies.
And you are wearing a rainbow shirt, which she would be totally fine with, and it has a Pegasus on it. A Pegasus unicorn.
I was thinking about. I'm wearing this to work today. I've always wanted to wear it, but I've never had the balls to wear it. And I figure it's the last week. I'm gonna wear it. And if people give me shit, I'm gonna be like, oh really? I'm like, yeah, really. What's so funny? We used horses as a means of transportation in this country at one point in time, and it was just good enough to the point that we named our vehicles horsepower. And this one's got wings. You think horses are fast? Can you imagine flying on a horse? I want to believe in that someday, man.
I have to assume that they don't fly very fast because their wings aren't very big.
You don't know.
In comparison to their bulk.
You don't know.
I don't, and I'm okay with not knowing. I don't like heights.
In a magical world of the rainbows and Pegasus and unicorns, like, fear is not an option, man.
But that's like a pegacorn, though. That's not even a Pegasus or a unicorn. It's both.
Sparkle shine, motherfucker. Sparkle shine that shit out, baby. Care Bear stare it all day long.
So, how about you pick a film or an album to discuss, and I will pick a film or an album. You will start from here.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Got it brought up. Where's my Scrabble things? Damn it. I fucking hate Last FM. You got me on a stupid fucking thing, man. I don't like it.
I love Last FM,
shit is
dude.
so fucking hard to figure out.
You know how many things I've scrabbled this week alone?
I don't even know how to look at it. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm at over 700 Scrabbles so far this week.
It's the stupidest fucking thing. I don't think this is... I'll be honest with you. I don't think Last FM is going to last with me.
You will love it.
You know, you telling me I will like something doesn't mean I'm going to like something, no matter how bad you want to.
It generally does. Search within yourself, Doug. Look for the truth.
Spotify's the truth. Last FM, this is for people. This is for people like we were talking about the last time we talked about, like people who collect vinyl and shit. This is for obsessive compulsive autistic people.
No, this is to keep track of what I have and haven't listened to, and when I have something new, I can be like, oh yeah.
Well, then maybe that makes me a boring person because, like, I don't think about stuff like that. Like, I will literally go into Spotify when I get to work or before I go running in the morning, and I will just start scrolling through either my playlists, and if I don't see nothing that I like on the playlists, I'll scroll through the artists, and usually I'll find an artist that sticks out, and then I'll find an album that I'm in the mood for, and that's kind of how I go about it. Like, going through all this it doesn't look like there's any order to any of it. It's just like everything I listen to in order.
Right.
But
it shows you your own schizophrenia, which is what I like.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't need it to be shown to me. I'm very well versed in my own. I don't.
Well, I know what album I'm gonna choose.
I'll let you go first, and I'll listen as I'm scrolling through my
So-
fucking Scrabbles. Whoever
My
created
album-
that name is just Scrabbles is like to me that should be as an offensive. It sounds like an offensive term, like the R word. That's what Scrabble sounds like to me. It's an offensive term.
We're going to talk about an album that people consider offensive or horrible. I want to talk about...
Ben Harper?
I love Ben Harper. Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy.
Oh my God, that's a good album to talk about, man.
I love that album.
I haven't listened to that in a while. I got to write that down so I remember to.
It is my favorite Guns N' Roses album after Appetite for Destruction, beating out Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and of course the Spaghetti Incident.
Not mine, but I agree it's a good album.
Here's my reasoning. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 should have been one album. There's so much filler on those albums to make two albums.
Yeah, but
but
they're both. Even the filler's good. To me, we're talking about Guns N' Roses and this shit. Like, Use Your Illusion 2 for me is a toss-up between Use Your Illusion 2 and Lies. Those are my favorite Guns N' Roses albums.
Lies is great. Lies is also their most controversial, of course. But Chinese Democracy, for me, people are like, oh, it's not the same band. Oh, it's this. Musically speaking, technically speaking, it is the most technical album that they ever released.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's fucking phenomenal musically. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Buckethead stan. It's a very well done album, except for there's a certain track. This I Love. If you listen to This I Love, and please do this for me after the podcast, and then just, if you can, just kind of cut in a little bit of the audio of each. Listen to This I Love. And now I don't know why she wouldn't say goodbye. And then listen to Dracula's Lament from Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
It's getting kind of hard to believe things are going to get better.
It's sung almost exactly the same.
It's getting kind of hard to believe it.
Pretty much. It's kind of that. The whole album isn't perfect, but I mean, I love the fact that he touches on the fact that, yeah, he's a fucking asshole. He fucked up a lot of the relationships, and he's part of the problem of why that band isn't together anymore. Like, he literally talked about it in the album without saying it. For an album that took, 14 years, you had Trent Reznor work on it, Dr. Dre worked on it, Rick Rubin worked on it. I mean, the who's who of producers alone. It was like a 16-page booklet of, like, I remember there being one credit. It wasn't, like, there would be 7 or 8 guitarists listed per track. And at one point, it didn't say guitar played by, it said riff thought of and inspired by, and then played by someone else. Like, he was that detailed as far as how he had to give so much credit to so many people.
I gotta go back. It's been a while since I've listened to it. I remember enjoying it quite a bit, but I'll do that. Chinese Democracy.
What I don't recommend doing, and I have done this, is listening to some isolated vocal tracks. I love listening to isolated vocal tracks.
Yeah, you're strange.
Isolated vocal tracks from that album, you can hear how he'll sing like 2 words, and then they edit, and then the next 2 words, then edit. It's really fucking bad. Like, really, really bad. Like, he doesn't do like a whole take. It's like, it's really bad.
One of my favorite bad things was that Vince Neil, when he, have you seen that video? The Vince Neil live? Hey! She sticks every time I'm in the back. Holy
it's
shit,
horrible.
dude!
And people give Axl shit for how bad he sounds now, and then you listen to Vince Neil. It's so bad. Like, it's like Vince Neil's not even trying.
I would wager to say some of my best memories that I have of growing up from like 6th grade to 9th grade is that period of time was really, truly when MTV exploded for me. Like, I know everybody talks about MTV hasn't played music videos in 4 decades. It's all reality bullshit, and it started with our generation. But that period, when I think of Guns N' Roses Estranged, I remember waking up in the morning and watching the music video for that, or watching the animation explosion between Liquid Television and Oddities and Beavis and Butthead, and how you'd get to watch Beavis and Butthead commentate on that video. And it, realistically, when you think about it, I would say Beavis and Butthead and MTV and all of that stuff kind of created the culture we live in now, as far as like our obsession with reactionary videos and reactions in general. I mean, that's what the fucking show was. Like, I loved watching Beavis and Butthead as a kid for the cartoon animation aspect. I always thought the stories that Mike Judge wrote were so fucking ridiculous that they were hilarious. But realistically, the stories, if you add them up, are like 3 to 5 minutes in total. Everything else was 20 minutes of music, of them reacting and commenting to music videos in animated form, much like how people do on YouTube today.
Right.
But it was a great time to be alive, because you got to see great. Like, it is, the '90s was just an incredible mix mash of just amazing and truly awful fucking music, and Beavis and Butthead were there to walk us through, like, just kind of dissecting all of that. I love that shit. And when I think of Guns N' Roses specifically, I think of Beavis and Butthead a lot, because they did a lot of Guns N' Roses videos.
See, not me. When I think of Guns N' Roses, the first thing that pops into my head is a concert they did in 1989 at the Ritz in New York. And they played it uncensored at one point on MTV at like 3 a.m. And 12-year-old me saw this concert. And at one point, they're singing Knocking on Heaven's Door. And he's like, I want to make them have to move the vending machines back. This is so fucking loud. He's like, everyone's going to think we're the sloppiest band in the world, but I really don't give a fuck. And because they were all over the place that night. Like, they were so out of their minds on whatever they were out of their minds on. But,
cocaine, probably.
Well, I mean, they did write a song called Mr. Brownstone about them using Mr. Brownstone. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's literally what it's about. But I remember watching that live performance and thinking, one, why is he wearing snakeskin pants? But two, this is a really good show. Because it's like a small club type show. And then the next time you see them, it's like the Paradise City video where they're playing Wembley. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, okay, there's 600 people here, now they're playing to 55,000 people.
I totally screwed up. I thought the Wembley thing was the... Oh, no, that you're right. What was the one they did for Queens? Was that Live Aid? For
Live Aid, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Live Aid.
Freddie Mercury.
Tribute for Freddie. Okay, then I screwed it up, yeah. I fucking love that, too, though.
Mm-hmm. I loved when he came out and did Free Fallin' with Tom Petty.
I fucking love Spotify for the simple reason that it reminds me of shit that I love, in the sense that, when, like we've talked about, I love listening to full albums, and then the album will finish, and then Spotify will kick on some kind of fucking automated radio similar to what you like. And fucking Tom Petty came on last night. Hadn't thought of Tom Petty. I couldn't tell you when the last time I thought it. I'm probably sure you could go back through Instagram or social media and find when the last time I talked about Tom Petty was. But I hadn't personally thought about it, and holy fuck did I forget how much I love Tom Petty. Although, I get confused because Spotify, for some reason, it's not the first time this has happened.
Will change shit in the middle of the room for you?
No, but don't have, like, certain albums available to listen to.
Yeah, certain things aren't on there. So, like, I'm going to give you a good example. Do you remember the group PM Dawn?
Yeah.
So you know the song Set Adrift on Memory Bliss?
I do.
It's not on Spotify. All that's on there is a re-recorded version with vocals by somebody else.
No one else isn't on Spotify.
And it's not on Apple Music.
You brought up PM Dawn. That's what triggered this. Tom Petty's Last Dance with the album that I can't remember if the album's called Last Dance with Mary Jane, but I know the song is. But the album that song's off of is not on Spotify. Arguably one of his best albums, my opinion. And the same is POD. I'll probably take shit for this. Dude, I don't give a fuck, but I love POD.
Somebody asked me to play POD last night.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I'll take shit for it. I'll take shit for anything I love. I love POD. I fucking love them. Satellite is an amazing album. The fundamental.
I didn't get into them personally, but I understand why a lot of people liked them.
there was a period where you and I weren't. You and I weren't talking. We weren't living together. I think I was living by myself, and I was going through like this weird trying to figure out like balance of like, am I a drug addict or am I trying to do something with my life? Like I was just really questioning and shit. And there was what's the Catholic university, that school that's in that area? They'd started a radio station, an FM, like a low FM radio station that started catering to like youth, and this is like my late 20s, early 30s, if I had to guess, maybe even mid 30s, and I would listen to them when I was driving. This is pre iPod, so I didn't have my MP3s loaded up to listen to. I was just listening to the radio. It was a new station I started listening to that was based in the area, and it was run by young people, and it was young. Progressive, like hip-hop, rock, like a mix mash of genres, but all like positive youth-based Christian music or Catholic. I think it was a Catholic university.
So how the fuck did Akon get on there?
I might have it wrong too. I might have misremembered
so like the
name.
Dollar General version, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Like great value Akon.
Sure. Acorn. Squirrel that one away.
Akin.
Nobody, you didn't even hear it.
I got it. I
was really proud of that one.
You're better than that joke, Doug.
Better enough to get a PS5 from you? Anyway.
No. I mean, I didn't want to bring it up and tell the world that I got a PS5, but
yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. He got through. He hasn't gotten it yet, though. I hope to God you get shipped a box of rocks from China.
Dude, if I get shipped a box of rocks from China, when I drive up there, I swear to God I'm going to punch you in the fucking face.
Now part of me wants to know who's selling this and where I could divert the package and do that.
Mine is actually coming from Amazon itself, not a third-party seller.
I'm trying to think if I know anybody that works at Amazon. I know a lot of people.
Ramona Flowers? Because I'll wait right at the door for her.
You don't know her. She's American. Just moved here from the States.
I'll totally wait at the door for Ramona to deliver my PS5.
So anyway.
You're picturing it, aren't you?
I'm trying to get back to where my fucking brain was, and I finally got it. I'm not going to let you divert me again. Catholic Church starts this radio station, this FM station, and at the time, I'm going through something. I'm trying to figure out what's what, but I like the music that I'm hearing. It's the actual music. I don't give a shit about the message. The music itself is insanely good. Almost everything that I'm listening to off the station. Like, there's shit that... I found myself at one point researching the station, getting their number, and finding out the names of all these different artists they're playing so I could start getting the albums for myself. That's how much I enjoyed the music. And POD I'd always dug. Satellite... The album Satellite came out... I could be fucking this up, but I remember... picking it up on September 11th, maybe the day before or the day after.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Because I remember when the planes hit, listening to that album and calling my ex-girlfriend that I just recently broken up with, knowing she was getting ready to take a flight and checking on her. But that album came out and I really enjoyed it, and I never gave it much thought afterwards. Like any album, like I'd lose favor with it, I'd come back to it. And then I'm listening to this new station. They started playing this new song that sounded like similar to POD, but it sounded just, it was this fucking good song called When Angels and Serpents Dance. And yep. I fell in love with this song to the point where I went out and bought the album. I think I paid like $30 for it at Barnes & Noble for like an asshole. And loved it. To this day, I still love that album. That's another album that's not on Spotify for whatever reason. Every one of their albums is on there, but When Angels and Serpents Dance. And I've never even bothered. Fuck it, I'm going to research it right now.
Last night, as everyone knows, I drive people around for a living. And this lady was talking to me, her and her husband. They're like, "Oh, your stereo sounds really good. Would you mind playing us something?" I'm like, "No, that's fine." I'm like, "What do you want to hear?" And first she's like, "Bowie." And then she's like, "Can you turn down the bass just a little bit? It's not quite the same as the original." I'm like, "Sure." And so I was like, all right, I'm impressed. She actually has a really good ear for this. And then she's like, "Oh, I want to hear some Chris Body." I'm like, okay. So I ask her what album, what song, and then we play one song. And it goes into the next song. Now, he's a trumpet player in it. He's like a jazz guy. And it gets to this breakdown in the next song. She's like, and I've been having the volume at like 7, and they're very content with that. And then she's like, okay, you got to crank it up for this breakdown. And so I turned it up to 22, which is ridiculously loud in my car. And the old dude is drumming on his knees, and she's jamming out. And then she just hands me a 20. She's like, thanks for having such a good stereo. And then she leaves.
That's awesome.
I was like, all right, thanks. She was fucking jamming out. And I just love to see people that happy over music.
I miss seeing people like that in general. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
I really don't see people like that. The area I live in, the small pocket of the Midwest that I live in, people very much, the mentality where I live, it's not a bad mentality, but it's not an adventurous mentality. The adventure of their mentality of the people here is once a year on spring break or on Christmas, we'll go to Florida and we'll go to the beach and we'll eat a bunch of crazy food that we never get to eat. That's the idea of adventure to people here. Everybody here likes to get, and I'm not faulting it. A lot of people do it across the country, but it's very much high school sweethearts get. I see so many. I've seen so many kids over the last few years graduate from this area and then immediately start working in mills and paper mills and get married and have litters of kids. And I'm like, okay, if you're happy with it, fine. But like, I miss people in Florida. Like, I miss people in a bigger area where like it was an adventure to get into a lift car and have a fun experience to where you tipped your driver $20 for having an incredible sound system. Like, I missed that appreciation for life and new experiences. I don't get it here.
It's been a lot of fun as far as that goes. Like, every night, people will see me and they will prejudge what I'm listening to. And I had another guy last night, and he's like, I was listening to an album, and he's like, oh, I know this. I'm like, no, you don't. And he's like, no, I guarantee you I can guess who this is. I'm like, $10 says you can't. He's like, you got $10? I'm like, I definitely have $10. Do you have $10? He's like, I have $10. And then, so I'm like, okay, here you go. His wife or girlfriend, whatever what she was, she's like, I got money on the driver, because she's like, you're not going to get it. You're not that smart. And he's like, okay, can I have a hint? I'm like, he's 6'6". He's like, that's not a very good hint. And I'm like, he doesn't talk. He's like, what? I'm like, he has 400 albums. He's like, oh, I got no idea. I'm like, it's Buckethead. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, that old hat.
So they get out of the car, and I'm like, you owe me $10. He didn't give me my $10, and I just turned it up really loud and left.
Gee, I'm sorry, Mr. Ripperdan. I don't have $1. Didn't ask for $1. $10.
$10. You motherfucker. So every night I'll just ask people, hey, what do you want to listen to? And they're always dumbfounded. And I'm like, no one ever asks us that. I'm like, okay, so what do you want to listen to? I'm like, they're like, oh, you won't like it. I'm like, that's not what I asked you. I asked you to give me an artist, and I'll play it. And I've discovered a lot of good music that way, and some really, really fucking shitty music that way. Some lady the other night was wanting to play country rap, and it is awful.
Wait a minute.
Let me tell you.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about hip hop?
Yes, hip hop.
I will. Okay, I gotta delicately walk around this one.
It's awful.
I will agree with you. There is a lot of bad, but
man,
I have heard some good. Now I couldn't. I'm not. And don't say what good, because I have to research it. It's been a while because it's not something I listen to regularly. But I had friends. I'm not even. Fuck you. I had friends that lived in Norfolk Myers. Fuck it. I had friends that lived in Suncoast who turned me on.
Imagine that.
You judgmental piece of shit, man. Some of the crap you fucking love.
Where else would they have lived?
They could have lived in East Fort Myers where we lived.
But they didn't. You know why? Because that shit was invented in Suncoast.
Go fuck yourself, man. I don't want to do this show with you anymore.
She asked me to play this song. Here, I'm gonna pull up the words to this song. The song is called Racism. His name is Adam Calhoun.
I love him already, man. Calhoun.
Now, this is a white guy, and I'm going to read you the lyrics, and I'm going to...
A white guy? Get out of here. Hick hop?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Hillbilly, cracker, N-word, white trash, fuck you, N-word. What the fuck you rapping for, cracker ass cracker? Got your rebel flag with your camo hat backwards, stains on your shirt, and your fucked up teeth. Piece of shit truck broke down in the middle of the street. Old lady bitching in the passenger seat. Smoking like a chimney. Kids in the back can't breathe. Got a kid on her lap. Smack his ass when he speaks. Always wearing white beaters because they're getting their ass beat. That is awful. Awful.
Do you know what I honestly think about music? Lyrics like that. I'm not going to say music because I haven't heard the music. But lyrics like that, I think I can't fault somebody for that. You could say like he's got influence over people, and that may be true. But the very few people that this group, this person has over it, I'm sure is not a very large group, and I'm sure they're not a group that's going to really invoke any change, any real change in this world. But that said, a person like that writing those kind of lyrics, to me, that sounds like, yeah, man, like I got kids coming on I got a couple kids right now from various girls. I got a couple kids on the way, man. I gotta feed them kids. That, to me, that kind of music, it literally sounds in my mind like this is a paycheck. That's all this is. People are going to eat it up. I don't care who it does, but this is a paycheck.
This woman, she said, it's the best way to describe the difference between a hillbilly and white trash and black folks and N-words. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, because anybody can be an N-word. I'm like, uh-huh, cool. I'm going to play some Cure now. And then I just changed it. She rapped this entire song in the back of my car, and I'm like, I've got my mask on, and I'm like, fuck? Here, I'm gonna go ahead and read you another lyric, okay? What the fuck you rapping for? N-word, ass, N-word. Got your sagging pants with your ass hanging out the back. Hanging out in front of the liquor store, selling crack, just so you can put some 24s on your Cadillac. Baby mama bitchin'. You ain't taking care of business. All you do is smoke weed, run around with other bitches, and you can't get a job because you're in and out of prison. Guess it must be Trump's fault because you're making bad decisions.
I see nothing wrong with that song. I think that
This
song...
is the worst shit I've ever heard. This is worse than Tiptoes. This is oh my god.
Do not invoke Tiptoes on this podcast unless you are going to commit to having a Tiptoes episode.
I will totally have it. You know me. I will have a Tiptoes episode with you because I will discuss the film and its merits and lack thereof of certain parts. Hip hop. Let's ask the people who listen to this show: do they enjoy hip hop, and do they think this song is a good gauge for racism? Please let us know in the comments.
You're talking about horrible lyrics and weird subversions of music. When I came here, when I first moved back here at the end of 2017, I got a job working a register at a gas station in Wisconsin down the road from where I was living with my mom and dad getting clean. And I didn't do a lot of work. Gas stations in Wisconsin are busy for the first 2 hours in the morning.
Everyone getting coffee.
Everybody comes and gets coffee and scratch-offs and sits down at the table and bullshits with each other before going to work, and they'll play cards and they'll read the news and they'll bitch about not enough people give Trump credit for this or that. And when they would leave, the day would get boring for the next couple hours. People would pay for gas at the pump, and rarely people came in. So I would just sit and watch Netflix, and I would watch YouTube on my phone. And I was on Facebook at the time, and Facebook had a lot of like local, algorithms tailored to like local concerts and shit like that. So anytime I was watching something, I would get spam advertisements in between my shit for shit that was happening in my area that I could go see. And one of them was a concert, like a big country rock fest at a fair, like an hour away. And it was going to be all these like modern country stars led by blah, blah, like all people I don't even remember their names. Like that, this kind of country music, this modern shit is just I don't give a fuck enough about it to even pay it no mind. But when you're watching something and it's just literally every 15, 20 minutes the same fucking commercial, you start singing along with the songs. You start like closing my eyes, I would see. I know everything that was going on screen. And one of these guys that was on the screen was that was playing at the show was an artist named Dylan Scott, who I guess is like some modern country singer that women love. And I only know that because some of my friends that I grew up with up here gave me shit because I wrote a post when I discovered this guy. I wrote a Facebook post about how much of a douchebag this guy seems like, and a couple of girls like came to their friends like, "Fuck you! You don't know what's good. He's good." And I'm like, "All right, here's the lyrics to the song. The first song I found by this guy. The song's called "My Girl," not the Temptations song. This is Dylan Scott's original, "My Girl," and it's a modern country song. The video, I highly recommend searching the video for "My Girl" out. It looks like an afternoon that you yourself would want, but do not believe either of the people in this video are actually excited or enjoying each other's company in this video. It just doesn't feel like it to me. It's so produced. Came out in 2016. The opening lyrics to this song is, "She looks so pretty." I'm don't remember the music, so I'm gonna just make it up and read the lyrics. But she looks so pretty with no makeup on. You should hear her talking to her mama on the phone. I love it when she raps to an Eminem song. That's my girl. But that's not how he says "that's my girl." That's the one thing I do remember. Like, that's where the chorus kicks in, and it goes, "'Cause that's my girl." Like, it is retarded. I caught myself. It is ridiculous,
You did.
man.
Good job.
It is
Good job.
ridiculous, dude. Like, this guy, you're talking about music that just... I don't understand why it exists. And then when those friends of mine came at me, I'm like, oh, this is why it exists. Because that's the thing about this guy. He's a horrible... He's got a ridiculously deep voice for a country singer, but like he looks like a cross between Ray Stevenson, Christian Bale. Like he's like a morphed pretty boy with like a perfectly shaved and cropped beard and like styled hair and blue eyes. It's weird. He's got like black everything, shadow, hair, beard, but his eyes are like blizzard blue. He looks so fucking weird, dude.
I don't know, man. There's so much bad music in the world,
and then there's so much good music that goes underlooked. Like there's a lot
true.
of
And look, I listen to a lot of stuff that people would not call good music. I listen to a lot of bands that people don't like, and that's fine. I'm not going to fault people for what they do love. There was a point where I would give anyone shit for listening to Nickelback. I'm past that. I don't care at this point if you like Nickelback. I still question why you like Nickelback, but I'm not going to give you shit about it. I mean, there was a time I would say you had ear herpes, but I don't do that anymore. I've evolved, Doug. I've evolved.
But I'm also at the point like where I genuinely don't get. People are going to like what they're going to like. I just want to be able to make fun of it when I'm in the mood to make fun of it. But I also realize that I like a lot of shit too. Like that's my biggest problem. That's one of the reasons why I like making fun of people or fucking with people, is because you should be able to. You should have a sense of humor of yourself. You should be able to acknowledge when you have bad taste because you like it. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
There's this one guy we know. You and I both know, and when he hears this, he will say something, or he will call me, or text me, or call you, possibly. But he has such an affinity for Limp Bizkit that it worries me. Between that and his love of Britney Spears, I wonder if he's okay or not.
Well, I thought you were gonna say John for a second, but I know who you're talking about. You want to talk about Limp Bizkit? Let's talk about Limp Bizkit.
Oh man, no, we need to have that person on if we're gonna have that conversation.
Because I will say this, I make fun of, to this day, I shit on Limp Bizkit, and I will always fucking shit on Limp Bizkit, and I will always shit on Fred Durst. I didn't realize Fred Durst directed a movie recently with John Travolta going full R-word.
I saw it, dude.
Yeah,
I saw the movie.
It looks awful. It looks awful.
It's worse than it looks.
I've been on a Scientology kick though, like watching Going Clear on HBO. Like I really got sucked into I forgot how engaged.
I still haven't watched Going Clear.
I would highly recommend it because Going Clear is very fascinating in the sense that like it does a great job of laying the groundwork, going all the way back to the inception of L. Ron Hubbard and why he started Scientology. Like it's funny because most people now, I mean, it's a tax exempt fucking religion in the eyes of the federal government, but it literally started with a guy who, as far as I know, still holds the record as being the most prolific writer in the Guinness Book of World Records. He's written the most books of any writer, I believe. But essentially was a science fiction writer. Wrote just stupid little short stories and started realizing he could evade taxes by commandeering a ship or getting on a ship and just traveling and porting and docking at different places. And that's what he did most of his life. Sea Org, part of science, Going Clear is such a that's what I'm saying. Going Clear lays the groundwork going back to the beginning of him being a writer, him actually being married originally. Go ahead.
Anchor point. He no longer holds that record. Brazilian author Ryoki Inu holds the Guinness Book of World Records for being the most prolific author with 1,075 books published under many pseudonyms.
Well,
he would write all day and all night until he finished a book.
Maybe Rake Uwe should start a religion then, and people know who he is. But until then, I'm going to say L. Ron Hubbard is the holder of that record because I don't know Rake Rookie or whatever his name.
Ryoki Inu. Do we even have a podcast here?
I'll cut something together. I'll definitely cut something together. But we're talking about music. No, we're still talking unless you want to stop talking. We're only an hour in.
No, I'm done with you, man. We're broken up.
Okay.
I mean, you knocked over my Legos, so.
Trying to think of something you've done to me. You've emotionally badgered me, and if I'm living in a world where emotions are being taken into consideration as if words are violence, you've emotionally badgered me.
That's fine, but just think, it could have been worse. It could have been actual violence.
I say that all the time. I'm trying not to get into a conservative rant about my newfound love for Ben Shapiro. I think a fun thing to do as a segment would be we could find a fun name for it, like Bear Shares or Share Bears or something. Share Bears would be a fun name, where we each recommend an album for the other to listen to in between episodes that week and try and absorb, just to see. We both talked about how we have completely different tastes, but very expansive tastes across all genres. And I think it would be cool to not only do that and listen to it and come back and talk about it from different perspectives of having heard a lot of this for the first time. But I also think it adds an element. But I happen to really enjoy talking about music, particularly with you. So I think that would be fun.
I have my album for you.
Okay.
You are going to listen to...
I know it's going to be a fucking Buckethead album.
It's actually not. It's totally the other direction entirely. It's going Chris Body, and it's going to be live in Boston. The album came out in 2009. It's a jazz album.
Well, I'm certainly in the right frame of mind to listen to jazz right now, my friend.
I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it.
The album I want you to listen to, real quick, I'm just checking to make sure that I can get you that there's a copy available, because it's not streaming on Spotify, but I believe it's a free mixtape online. So just bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. It's on Bandcamp. We're going to be listening to, there's a hip-hop group called Meter Maids from Brooklyn, New York, that I really enjoy.
If I could, I would brush my hand along your hips. You could feel my touch. You could feel that I exist. See, I don't want a lover, and I don't want a kiss. Maybe just a look. Maybe move your lips.
I found out about them through Strange Famous Records, Sage Francis's label. And they released, I believe, 1 or 2 albums through that label that were good. They were very good, but they were good enough to at least to get me to check out Meter Maids. And I fell in love with all of their older independent stuff and a lot of their newer stuff, but they released a mixtape with DJ Rob Swift called Hello, and it is 9 tracks long. I think altogether it's like under 20 minutes. It's really short, but the music, the production value, even the lyrics on a lot of the songs, like this is a mixtape that I've been listening to. It came out in 2010, so I've been listening to it for 11 years. And it's something that I listen to on a weekly basis at least once. It hasn't showed up in my scrobbles yet, but rest assured it will. You and I were talking about, like, we listen to a variety of music that most people don't like, and I'm very much one of those, and I recognize it, but I do listen to, like, a very large mix of, like, indie hip-hop that a lot of it, like, either most people haven't heard of it or the people that have heard of it are a very small portion. And a lot of these artists only have, like, 1 to 3 albums out, and it's unfortunate because I would love to listen to more of it, but, you know, I understand circumstances happen, and I'm also grateful that I have the music I do have to listen to. So,
look, man, I'm not saying I hate you, but what I'm saying is...
You got a PS5, I hate you. Fuck off.
I don't have it yet.
You will.
Like I said, once I see it here at my home... You know what? I may do an unboxing video. I've never done one of those.
Good, that could be your first private solo podcast, because I won't be involved in that shit, man.
Oh no, you're gonna be watching.
I don't need to watch some Serbian torture porn video.
I'm gonna have a 4-camera setup going, and you're gonna be watching it from multiple angles, like you're gonna have
your PS5 on one end, and then you're gonna have it human centipede to a PS4 and an Xbox, and you have little diapers around it. You're like, that's how good this is. It's shit into the mouth of everything else we love.
have you there's a TikTok that got really famous, and this girl is hyping up this dude, and I don't know much about TikTok, and I'm sure it was set up and staged or whatever, but you know, there's this box and he's got his eyes covered, and they're like, you can take off the box, and he's like, I can't wait for you to get your birthday surprise. And he's like, I know it's a PS5, and he rips the box off, his eyes are closed, and like, all right, you can open your eyes. And it's a PS3 and a PS2 duct taped together.
Oh, that's funny.
Tell me you would not have just thrown that shit across the room.
I would have been hesitant. I would have put it down. I'm the kind of person who wouldn't have done anything. I would have thanked you, but you would have seen it on the way Paul...
The pure hate. The pure hatred. I'm going to fucking bed. This has been Bob.
I'm Doug.
We tried to save you from boredom.
So much so that one of the co-hosts is now going to bed because he's been yawning for the last 15 minutes. Whatever.
I only slept for 4 hours. Leave me alone.
That's all I ever sleep is for 4 hours. But anyway, go take your nap. I'll talk to you later. Jesus Christ, we've got 2 hours of recorded footage, man. Fuck!
All right, man.
Bye.
Bye.